Grace and peace, family. I'm Dr. Brandon McCray, and welcome to another edition of Wisdom on Wednesday. We are in a series entitled Managing Your In-Between Moments, and we will be examining Ezekiel Chapter 37, verses 1 through 14. What we've discovered through last week's anatomy of the context is that Hebrew scholar Ralph H. Alexander leaves us with the thought that Ezekiel found himself prophesying in a period of international turmoil, unrest, combined with the immorality and apostasy of Judah. And amazingly, it is in this seat of oppression, anxiety, and frustration that we find Ezekiel within our text. If we're going to successfully manage our in-between moments today, I'd like to offer one thing. We need to find the problem. How, Brandon McCray, do we find the problem? I'm glad you asked me. If we examine verses 1 and 2, what we'll discover is that the problem can be found compartmentalized, housed in the setting. Number one, setting. According to verse 1, the setting was the valley. In the English Standard Version, it reads like this: "And the hand of the Lord was upon me, and he brought me out in the spirit of the Lord and set me down in the middle of a valley. It was full of dry bones." This setting was a valley, and this setting was a low point. And many of us can find ourselves in a low point that can be spiritual, emotional, physical, economical, financial, fiscally. Many times we find ourselves in low points, but I want you to know and make a note that low points are usually between mountain hills. They are between promises and performance. And many of us find ourselves in that very place between what God has said and between what we know that God is going to do. These bones in this valley speak to us in modern context, representing death and despair. And what's interesting is that this valley is a sobering place. It is in the valley, take a note, that it is much less about perception and more so about introspection. Because, take another note, we should never waste the pain of a pit. We see that the problem can be found in the setting. The setting, according to verse 1, was the valley. Next, we see that the problem can be found in the season. And the season was a very dry season. According to verse 2 in the English Standard Version, it says, "And he led me around among them, and behold, they were very many on the surface of the valley, and behold, they were very dry." They were dry. Dry speaks to being uncovered and overexposed. And there are many people that have been overexposed to the elements of the world, overexposed to the culture, overexposed to the issues that we find ourselves in. But we do not have to stay dry. Neither do we have to be, according to the text, disconnected. These bones were far from each other, far from the source of life. According to John 15, Jesus is the vine and his Father is the vine dresser. So we should never find ourselves disconnected. Not only in this season do we see that the bones were dry and disconnected, but number 3, we see that they were deserted. They were left for dead. And I am talking to someone, many people, if as it were, that are out there that have found yourself in a dry season, a disconnected season, even a deserted season. But here is the joy of our conversation today. You should know that seasons change. So not only do we find the problem in the setting of the valley or the season being very dry, but lastly, we find the problem in sin. As a matter of fact, the children of Israel found themselves in this season and this setting because of their sin. If you were to examine 2 Kings chapter 21 through 25, you will see the level of idolatry and apostasy that the children of Israel subjected a good and gracious God to. What I want you to know today is that the first step to deliverance is stepping over denial. And there are many of us that found ourselves in sins that we've placed ourselves in, but we've got to take ownership of that thing if we're going to be delivered from the season of dryness, if we're going to be delivered from the setting of the valley, and if we're going to be delivered from the disobedience of sin. Allow me to leave you with this thought. Sometimes, saints, members, and friends, the devil has you right where God wants you to be. This has been your boy Brandon McCray, aka BmacMusik. Do 3 things for me: like, share, and comment on this post. We want to make something God go viral. And until next time, I want to see your face in the same space for Wisdom on Wednesday. Listen, I'll let your boy.